Hey, it's Paul, that bourbon guy. Let's find a bottle. Wait a minute. That doesn't look like a normal Booker's. Let's see what this one's about. Back above the whiskey warehouse, and I happen to have a collection of Booker's. Many of you are familiar with what Booker's is, but how many of you are familiar with the story of Booker's? Let me tell you about that. It's kind of interesting. So many of you have heard about the story of Blanton's from Buffalo Trace. Then Master Distiller Elmer T. Lee came up with the idea of offering a single barrel bourbon to the public. Never been done before. Took off. They had the little crazy horse on the top of the bottle. They started adding letters to it to make it a collectible thing. Took off like wildfire, and the rest was history. That was successful for Buffalo Trace. Now, for another major distillery like Jim Beam, they needed to come up with something that was equally important. And what happened was then Master Distiller Booker Noe, who was the grandson of the Beam family, came up with this idea of, let's not just worry about a single barrel. Let's offer a single barrel at cask strength so that you can experience the Master Distiller's experience. Now, what I say by Master Distiller experience is that when a master distiller is going around in a rick house, they're going to take samples straight from the barrel. And in doing so, they're picking up at full proof, nothing watered down. They're going to have that experience. But eventually they do need to figure out if that content within the barrel is going to match one of the profiles of their bourbon line that they offer to the public. Most of the bourbon that is offered to the public is proofed down, and the way you proof it down is with the addition of water. So with the introduction of Booker's, the idea was, let's take it first at full strength, but start adding drops of water into your bourbon to agitate it, to lower the proof point, to open up more of the notes so that you can try and experience what it is that a master distiller does to determine whether or not that particular barrel will match a profile similar to one of their product lines that they can blend in. So that's what we have today. And I've got a couple options that I have on display. Bottles that are over here are the typical releases that they do 4 times a year. This one in particular happens to be the 2023-02 release that is known as The Apprentice. This one over here happens to be a limited edition release. So that was from 2024. It's called The Reserves. And then I have this particular bottle here, which as you can obviously see stands out from the rest. Lighter in wood color, slightly taller. You can't see what's in front. It's a wood front to the whole thing. The graphics are different. This happens to be the 8th batch of Booker's ever made. So I was lucky enough to know a friend in Lexington. Her husband passed away and she gifted to me this particular bottle as he was a very, very big fan of Jim Beam. Now it's interesting, I'll show you some photos of the graphics that are all around this box, including the top that happens to have this leather catch to keep the front lid in place. So if I was to release this, you will see the bottle that is inside. So let me pull this bottle out so you can have a better look at it. Again, I'll have some photos close up of this. It's not a lot left. But let me give a little background on this particular bottle. It has a little tag that's around the bottle. It's called "The Best There Is, That's a Promise." And that's quoted from Booker Noe. This particular one has some date codes on it, but it's interesting date code. So it's batch number B-K-28-84. It's coming in at 124.6 proof. 8 years and 2 months in aging. Now that particular funky batch number, which is actually a code, indicates when that particular batch of bourbon was distilled. And it turns out that code translates to the day after I turned 16, back in 1982. Yeah, I'm that old. But it was then later aged and bottled in 91. I think it was put in the stores either 91 or 92. So this was the 8th ever release. So I have everything out here as offered in cask strength. We'll go through the Booker's experience as a master distiller and add some water to it. Let me give you some background notes first, also the other two pours that I have out here. So first, with the apprentice release, they give you these little cards that will give you a background story. It'll give you some notes about what percentages of bourbon came from which warehouse. And so this one happens to be 125.5 proof. So not far off from that older batch, aged 7 years, 1 month, and 2 days, so significantly younger. The center one that I have here is the reserves from 24. That comes in at 125.9 proof, aged 8 years, 2 months, and 12 days. So identical age to the old Bookers. And that's what I'll go in terms of notes. If you want to see more about that, you can go online. You can read the history of each of these releases that came up. But let's try these at cask strength. So first with the nose. Now with the nose, I'm getting heavy licorice about this, maybe a little bit of cherry notes, and only a very subtle hint of nuttiness to the whole thing. Now I was a little concerned because when I opened this, the cork totally destroyed and disintegrated on top of itself. As a matter of fact, this is all that's left of that original cork. It's just the top. The cork itself is totally long gone. I was fortunate enough to be able to strain it and put it into another bottle to get rid of the cork components, and then later put it back in here. And the top I have on now is coming from an Old Forester 1920. It's the best one I could find that fits the bottle. So with that in mind, I said I went into the nose. I had, again, that licorice note. Let's go into the taste. So with that taste, I'm also getting that licorice. It's heavy licorice, borderline medicinal. Not medicinal cherry, it's kind of a medicinal licorice. There's something medicinal about the whole thing. Totally unlike the profile that I would find from a bean product itself. Kind of interesting. So it made me concerned whether or not did that cork affect the contents of that bottle. Let's add a couple of drops of water to the whole thing, because this is part of the Booker experience. Give that a swirl. Let it agitate, let it open itself up, break down some of the oils, proof it down, and we'll come back to that in a moment and see what that's like. Now let's go over to the apprentice batch from 23. All right, so with that, that's more of a bean note, but it's light. That's probably one of the complaints many people have had about the apprentice batch. It was one of the younger ages, and the individual notes that you typically would find within a Booker's, which is your caramels, your vanillas, your peanut notes, a little bit of cherry to the whole process and everything else. They're all here, but they're at such a low volume, you really have to hunt for it. You have to concentrate. So it's there, okay. And it is what it is. So let's taste this. So the faint notes in the nose translates into the taste itself. It is totally, that licorice and medicinal piece obviously does not exist here with the latest, with the 23 release. It's fine. It's not a wow factor. I wouldn't call this one of the better ones that Booker's have ever released. I've had some home runs, so we'll get to the reserves. The reserves, I would say, is probably one of the best home runs in recent times. I was lucky enough to have a pour from a 25th anniversary version of Booker's. To me, when I had that one, it was pure creamy peanut butter. Nose and taste all the way through. Enjoyed it very much. No way I can afford one of those bottles today, but I was very grateful to at least have the pour. So this is interesting. It's more in line with what you would expect from a Booker in terms of note and nose. Let's add some drops of water to the whole thing. Agitate it a little bit, and we'll let it sit. Now, I am not going to add water to the reserves. I just like it the way it is, and that's just me. But I at least want to go through the Booker's experience with the other two so that you understand what happens when you add the water to it. But first, let's go through the nose on the reserves. That is wonderful. This is, like I said, probably the best Booker's that they've released within at least the last 5 years, if not maybe the last 8 to 10 years. Is phenomenal. It's a little dark and complex. So not only am I going to get the caramels and vanillas, I'm getting that nuttiness out of it and maybe a little stewed fruits to the whole thing as well. There's a lot going on in the nose. Let's go to the taste. Yeah, it's there in the taste as well. So it's heavy caramel up front, in the front of the palate. It's gonna pick up some cherry notes mid palate. It's light cherry, it's not heavy cherry. You're gonna get that nuttiness notes all the way through to the finish. You're gonna get a little baking spice towards the end as well. That's kind of tends into what is the Kentucky Hug as well. It feels, got that warming feeling going all the way down. It's nice, but like I said, this is one I particularly like at full proof, so I'm just going to leave that alone. But let's go back to the experiments. Let's go back to the Booker experience. So now that I've added water to batch number 8, let's see what's happened to the nose. So all of a sudden, that heavy licorice note is gone. I'm now starting to pick up more of those traditional Booker notes. I'm picking up more of that nuttiness to the whole thing. It's probably, the licorice is probably not totally gone, but there's still a little hint of that there. But it's opened up to allow me to experience some of the more of that caramel note to the whole thing. I wouldn't say it's anywhere near the reserves, but it's pretty darn close. Matter of fact, let me do a little side by side. Yeah, it's definitely of a Booker profile or a Jim Beam profile. Yeah, let's try the taste. Instantly, the taste is better as well. So it's very interesting on how the water, just a couple drops in agitation, let it sit and open up for a while, totally changes the expression. Yes, the proof point did go down a little bit, but now it's a flavor worth exploring. It's a flavor that you can enjoy more. It's interesting, and it's giving you a better understanding of what happens when you proof down a bourbon. They want to open up and see other notes that could suddenly appear when the proof point drops. That's exactly what's happening here. So this tells me that the bourbon's okay. It's just how it was bottled back in, or how it was made back in 1982. It's a long time ago. So that's really cool. Let's see what happened with the water that was added to the apprentice batch. Well, with the apprentice batch, we started with a weak nose. If anything, it's now more vanilla centric in terms of the nose. It's pleasant, it's not off-putting, but it's not carrying the other notes that you would traditionally find within the Booker's. It's nice. Let's try it. Again, with the taste, it is also very vanilla forward, almost a one note. It's good. It's peppery. It's more peppery than the other two, especially around the back of the palate into the finish itself. It's kind of interesting. But it tells me that it's of the Booker family, but it's just at a lower note. And that may be due to the younger age that was put into it. Obviously, it's not much in difference in proof points. We're talking fractional points within everything. So, we're talking 125.9, 125.5, and as well as 124.6. So they're all there very close to one another. But this one still, I think it's because of the younger age, it just doesn't come off as strong as everything else. But this is kind of an interesting experiment and something you should probably try at home. So if you have a Booker's, enjoy the Booker's how you want it. I'm not telling you not to do it the way you want to do it. However you like it, but maybe save a little bit at the end and try this experiment yourself. Get a glass of water. You don't necessarily have to pipette. You can even just finger dab and just have a couple drops put into the glass itself. Stir it for a little bit, let it sit, then come back to it a minute or two later. See what's changed. You might be surprised. You might be amazed. And in some cases, this is a good experiment. Does the bourbon become better, or does it become worse when you proof it down? That's the judgment call a master distiller must make. So that's essentially it for the Booker's experience. Oh, one last note. I don't know if you noticed, but inside of this box happens to be some piece of paper. Now this piece of paper was wrapped around the bottle when I received this. So I opened it up, and I'll show you a photo of this too. But in here is the full description of Booker and the Booker experience and why things are. And just to tell you, the top of the headline reads, "If you think fishing takes patience, you've never waited 8 years for bourbon." And that's a quote from by Booker Noe himself. So this is kind of cool history. I'm glad I got a hold of this. I'm very grateful to my friend for gifting me to that bottle. We've got other great bottles that are out there. Some of them are hits and misses, but maybe if you go through the Booker experience, add some water, you may rethink about how you like that bottle. It may get better, it may get worse. You never know. Also consider trying that with other bourbons. You may have some other single barrels out there. You may have something at cask strength, full proof, even at a lower proof. Give that a try. Add some water. See what happens. Now, if you like it, hey, now you got something you can go for the next time you have a pour. Add a couple drops, you're good to go. If you don't like it, okay, it's nothing wrong. Now you know how you like it. So that's it for Booker's. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know what you do with your experience with Booker's. Have you tried adding water to it? Has it changed anything for the better for you or for the worse? Let me know. And that's it for my story. And until next time, when anyone asks, tell them you heard it from that bourbon guy.